the beginning of 3 doubles. Beginning of 3 12-hour days. A little over a year ago, that Hurricane Irma, that was the time when Hurricane Irma side-skirted the state of Florida and went along the west coast. And here we are with Hurricane Michael that just devastated the Florida Panhandle. And it always makes me say, gosh, it could have been us. It's so close to home, that devastation that occurred out there in the Florida Panhandle. When Hurricane Andrew hit, at the time I was working for a wire service. The wire service was, it's still there. It's called UPI, United Press International. The other competitors of that type of work are Associated Press, the AP, Reuters, AFP, Agents of France Press. And I had to go down to Miami. I lived in Pembroke Pines, which is in Broward, and that's north of Miami. And we didn't get any real damage. You know, I don't even think the power went out at my place. Maybe it went out. Maybe it went out for a half hour here and there. It was a terrible storm for me. The wind was howling. I slept on the mattress in the middle of the hallway because I truly didn't know what was going to happen. The sound of the wind, it sounded like a freight train. They say it all the time, but that's what it was. And anyway, heading down to Miami, I saw things where there was a motel with the entire facade ripped off, and you could see into each room. And I realized the power of a hurricane and wind and Mother Nature, that it can move concrete and move bricks and really create damage. And seeing the trees leaning to one side it really makes you appreciate it. Now, Hurricane Irma was barreling down at the time last year. I just didn't have the means to even fill up a gas tank and drive out of harm's way. As it turned out, everybody that did leave and went up the coast or went to places in Central Florida and North Florida were actually then trying to get themselves back out. It was a logistical nightmare to have, 3 million people or so driving on the highway and trying to find rooms and gas and everything. I remember people who were posting on social media saying things like, we're stuck here, we don't have gas, we're stuck on the road. It was just, that must have been horrifying for a few people too. Glad things worked out as well as they did for everybody during Hurricane Irma, as far as human loss of life and, catastrophic damage and things like that. It was minimal compared to the way things went with Hurricane Andrew, and then of course now Hurricane Michael. So my point is that you always feel, me personally, I feel a little bit of remorse, guilt, something that I got through another one. Does that make any sense? And I am not the because it's so close to home. It's basically, 3, 4, 5, 600 miles difference, maybe. And of course, you're okay. And there's never a good time for something to happen, especially when you just don't have any money, you don't have any gas in the tank to get away, or money to pay for needed supplies that you would never. Of course, you buy a whole bunch of things that you need. You need water, you need toilet paper, you need canned food, you need all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't normally buy either. So you fill up the gas tank even more because you need gas. Anyway, the point that I'm saying is that it's never easy when a hurricane comes through. It's like waiting on imminent danger. You can see that it's coming. Most of the time these things take 3 or 4 or 5 days to get to you from out in the Atlantic, and they're coming. And then when they start to make that whole 12 hours before landfall and everything's closed down because they know there's a hurricane, you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere. Now you're waiting, and then the hurricane takes 12 hours to pass through, and then another few days before everybody gets up and running. Hurricane Michael just blew right through. Two days notice, basically, between Cuba and Cozumel was when I first saw it, and then it was on its way to Georgia after it hit. Within hours, within the day, within 7 hours or so, I believe, it was already hitting Georgia, and it moved rapidly. It just sucks to see how hard all those people are going to have their lives impacted. It's just heartbreaking to see all the destruction and how it affects all the people who live in the area that have to go through this. Anyway, that's the beginning of my day.